George Washington was born on February 23, 1732, in Westmoreland County, Virginia, into a family of planters. His father, Augustine Washington, was a wealthy landowner, and his mother, Mary Ball Washington, played a strong role in his upbringing after his father died in 1743, when George was only 11 years old. Washington grew up on the family plantation, Mount Vernon, which later became his lifelong home. He received a basic formal education until about age 15, but he never attended college. Instead, he developed practical skills in mathematics, surveying, and agriculture, which later helped him in land management and leadership. As a teenager, Washington worked as a land surveyor in Virginia's wilderness, gaining knowledge of geography and toughness that served him well in his military career. French and Indian War. Washington began his military career in the Virginia militia. At just 21 years old, he was sent on a mission to warn the French to leave the Ohio Valley, a region claimed by both Britain and France. His actions in 1754 at the Battle of Fort Necessity marked the beginning of the French and Indian War. Although his early campaigns had mixed results, he earned a reputation for courage, discipline, and leadership. Washington fought alongside the British Army, gaining experience in tactics, logistics, and command, which would later prove crucial in the American Revolutionary War. American Revolution. War of Independence. By the 1770s, tension between Britain and its American colonies escalated. In 1775, the Second Continental Congress appointed George Washington as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. He faced enormous challenges: poorly trained troops, shortages of supplies, and a powerful British military. Washington's leadership was tested in the harsh winter at Valley Forge, 1777-78. Key victories under his command included the Battle of Trenton, 1776, and the decisive Battle of Yorktown, 1781, where the British General Cornwallis surrendered, effectively ending the war. Washington's leadership, perseverance, and belief in the cause of liberty made him the symbol of American independence. Washington was chosen to preside over the Constitutional Convention of 1787, where the U.S. Constitution was drafted. In 1789, Washington was unanimously elected as the first President of the United States, the only president ever elected unanimously by the Electoral College. He served 2 terms. 1789. As president, Washington established many traditions such as the presidential cabinet, strengthened the federal government's authority, oversaw the creation of the Bill of Rights, promoted neutrality in foreign affairs, avoiding entanglement in European wars, set the precedent of serving only 2 terms, which later became law. His farewell address, 1796, warned against political parties and foreign alliances, advice that influenced American policy for generations. Personal life. Washington, 1796, married Martha Custis in 1759, a wealthy widow with 2 children. While they had no children together, Washington raised Martha's children as his own. He was a successful planter and landowner, managing Mount Vernon, which grew into a large estate. Washington was also a slave owner, a complex and controversial part of his life. In his will, however, he ordered the emancipation of all his slaves, making him the only founding father to free his enslaved people. Legacy. George Washington is remembered as the first president of the United States and the commander who secured American independence. He set enduring standards of leadership, integrity, and family background. Washington's family came from English gentry origins. His great-grandfather, John Washington, emigrated from England to Virginia in 1657. His father, Augustine Washington, had children from 2 marriages. George was the eldest of 6 children with Mary Ball Washington. Education and early skills. Though Washington never attended university, he developed skills in mathematics, land surveying, and map-making, which shaped his practical intelligence. He read works on agriculture, military strategy, and leadership throughout his life to make up for the lack of formal higher education. His job as a surveyor in the Shenandoah Valley introduced him to frontier life, Native American lands, and colonial expansion tensions. French and Indian War. Detailed role. Washington's first combat experience, 1754, was disastrous. His hastily built Fort Necessity was attacked by the French, and he was forced to surrender, the only surrender of his career. Despite this, he earned recognition for his bravery and was later promoted to colonel in the Virginia Regiment. Washington served under British General Edward Braddock in 1755 during a campaign to capture Fort Duquesne. The mission failed, and Braddock was killed. Washington showed courage by organizing a retreat, preventing complete destruction of the army. This war shaped Washington's view of the British military. He respected their discipline, but saw their arrogance and underestimation of colonial forces. Washington's appointment as commander-in-chief was strategic. He was a Southerner, which united northern and southern colonies. He understood his army could not match Britain in open battle, so he used guerrilla-style tactics, strategic retreats, and surprise attacks to wear down the enemy. Key campaigns: Siege of Boston, 1775–76. Washington forced the British to evacuate Boston, crossing the Delaware 1776. Surprise attack at Trenton on Christmas night boosted morale. Valley Forge Winter 1777. Harsh winter nearly destroyed the army, but Washington's perseverance, along with Baron von Steuben's training, transformed the Continental Army. Yorktown 1781. Washington with French allies Lafayette and Rochambeau trapped Cornwallis, securing American independence. Supported Hamilton's financial plan, establishing the Bank of the United States, stabilizing the economy. Signed the Judiciary Act of 1789, creating the federal court system. Used federal authority in the Whiskey Rebellion 1794, showing the government could enforce laws. Foreign policy, declared neutrality during the French Revolution and European wars, setting a long-standing precedent. Signed Jay's Treaty 1794 with Britain to avoid war. Established diplomatic relations with many countries. Mount Vernon and plantation life. Washington inherited Mount Vernon from his half-brother Lawrence in 17. It grew into an 8,000-acre estate with over 300 enslaved workers by the time of his death. Washington experimented with crop rotation, wheat farming, and new tools. He was considered an innovative farmer for his time. He disliked slavery in principle but relied on it for his.
In his will, he arranged for his slaves to be freed after Martha's death, the only major founding father to take this step. People holding hands: personality and relationships. Washington was known for his discipline, self-control, and reserved nature. He had a strong sense of duty and honor, often prioritizing public service over personal happiness. He was admired for his physical presence, over 6 feet 2 inches tall, strong build, excellent horseman. Washington had close friendships with Alexander Hamilton, Marquis de Lafayette, and Henry Knox, though he clashed with Jefferson. His marriage with Martha was respectful and stable. She managed Mount Vernon during his long absences. Globe showing Europe-Africa global influence. Washington became a symbol of Republican leadership worldwide. Revolutionary leaders in France, Latin America, and Europe cited Washington as an example of a leader who gave up power voluntarily. He was admired by Napoleon Bonaparte, who called him the greatest man of our age. Coffin, death and mourning. On December 12, 1799, Washington caught a severe throat infection after inspecting his farms in cold weather. He died on December 14, 1799, at Mount Vernon. His death was mourned globally. Napoleon ordered 10 days of mourning in France, Britain lowered its flags, and Americans saw him as irreplaceable. Glowing star legacy, in greater detail. Known as the father of his country, he set the template for American democracy. His greatest legacy was voluntary power surrender. After victory in war and 2 terms as president, he stepped down, something rare in history. Washington, D.C., the capital city, was named in his honor, along with countless counties, towns, and schools. His image appears on the U.S. $1 bill and the $quarter-dollar coin. The Washington Monument remains one of the tallest stone.
State.